Hello guys and welcome back to another video in the channel. Today we have a BMW X3, an F25 from 2020, and we have a special case today. And today I want to bring to you this video because this is the perfect scenario that you cannot always follow what the diagnostic scanner told to you. Okay, so most of the guys that trying to start with diagnostic, they simply read the faults and replace the part that it indicates in the diagnostic scanner. So this is the perfect example that not always working if you follow what just the diagnostic told to you. You need to know how to interpret the data and how to read the faults and the specific, make a specific analysis to try to find the problem. So the customer complaint was that the car was braking alone. So when he started driving the car was blocking the four wheels. This is a four-wheel driver car, and yeah, the first test is confirm the customer complaint, and we get into it. So I bring to you a video. It's not the best video, but I hope that you can understand that when we focus on the revs from the engine and the engine speed, so when we try to increase the revs, you see that at some point we get a big drop in the revs. So this is when the car is braking alone, and it's not possible to move the car. At some moment we will get a CC message inside the car. So focus on the video, please. And we get the CC message, as you can see. So the next step is connect the car to the diagnostic and see what faults we have, because we have a CC message inside the car, so we for sure that we have a fault code. Okay. So connected to the diagnostic software, we have a fault in the transfer box, temporary fault, temperature. So it's telling us that the temperature in the transfer box is too high. And this is the cat for this car, because if you have experienced work in these modules, you know that it's very common that these cars have problems in the transfer box. Okay, so I already catch a lot of them with problems in the transfer box, but normally the problem, it's not the four-wheel blocking. Okay, normally the customer complain about some noises, some vibrations when he tried to increase the power from the engines or to get the maximum power from the car. And this was quite different because this car was really completely blocking the four wheels when we tried to drive it. So this brought to me some remember of old problems in old cars that was not really the transfer box the problem, but since we have a fault for the transfer box, we need to follow the diagnostic and see until where we can go, okay, to try to find the real problem from the car. So now I get some interesting informations about the fault. So it's telling us that it's just a temporary fault. Okay, the clutch control, it's temporarily reduced in the by the transfer case control unity, but after some time, so when the temperature it's okay, the cars come back to normal. But this was not happening. The car was, every time that you try to drove the car was blocking the four wheels. So it's not, now we can see that the fault description, it's not matching with the customer complaint. So this was the first sign that probably the fault was not the transfer box. Okay, but we followed the diagnostic and we can see further that if we have another problem. Okay, and you will see that we really have another problem. So when you follow the ISTA, it's telling us that some principal things that we need to check when we have a car that it's a four-wheel drive. One of them, it's basic, it's the tires. Okay, the tires and the wheels should matching from what they came in the original system. In BMW, specific in BMW, because this is what we are talking about, I know from my experience that if you have a difference, uh, more than 3 millimeters difference from the front axle to the rear axle, you start to get some problems in the transfer box. So it's normally if you start to fall to feeling some vibrations in the car, and even some noises. Okay, and it's not good if I think it's common to all the four-wheel drive. So you cannot have a big difference from the front tires to the rear tires. Okay, they should be, even if you have a big difference and you need to replace the front or the rear tires, you need to replace four of them. Okay, so they need to have the same measurements. Otherwise, you will get some problems in the future. We check everything, so the front axle differential ratio, the car it's original, so but we check it and it was okay. And basically Easted didn't tell us to make nothing more. Okay, so if we told Easted that we made all the tests, he would tell us it's okay. If you check it, it's a temporary fault, so you don't need to do nothing. But we have a problem, so we need to find, and this is where it gets in the real diagnostic, because you don't have any more fault codes and you need to go deep. For the system to work properly, you need to have basic stuffs, and one of them it's the wheel sensors. Okay, the car needs to know how is the rotation from the four wheel. Okay, otherwise the control unit you will get confused, and in some of the cars you will get these symptoms. So we make a test for the four wheel speed sensors. Okay, in the four wheels, and you will see we will rotate all the wheels by hand, one by one. Okay, and you see that the front right, we have the speed over there, so it's matching the speed that we are turning, and the diagnostic is recognizing the speed. We have the front left, it's also recognizing the speed from the wheel. Okay, rear left, as you can see, it's also recognizing the speed, so it's a good indicator for us. Until now, all the wheels are recognizing the speed. Um, but as you can see, when you go to the rear right, okay, we are rotating the wheel in the rear right, and we only have rotation on the rear left. This happened because of differential effect. Okay, so we have a differential in the rear. So when we turn the rear right to the front, the rear left will turn to back. Okay, so it's a differential effect. So it's normal. But the principal thing is we are rotating the rear right wheel. Okay, and we not get the information about the rear right wheel. We only get for the rear left. So this is an important point. The diagnostic is telling us that the car it's not recognizing the rotation from the rear right wheel, and this matching what with the customer it's complaining. This makes sense for me. So because the car have no, imagine if you are trying to drive the car and he have the information about three wheel sensors. Okay, so three wheel sensors, it's telling the car, okay, the car it's spinning, it's running. Okay, but one of them it's telling to the car that the car is stopped. So the car get confused. So I'm stopped, I'm driving, the car have not sure what you need to do. So that's why DSC gets confused and starts to braking the car. At this time, I was a little bit confusing. Why we don't get a fault for the sensor? If we really have a fault in the sensor, why we don't have a fault? Okay, because normally BMW is too sensitive and get the fault for all the sensors that when you have a defect, the car can recognize him and get the fault. So I was interesting to why the car don't get the fault for the rear right sensor. Okay, so I connect the diagnostic, the picoscope, the oscilloscope, to try to understand why we don't get the fault for the sensor. And here I can show you why we don't get the fault. Okay, because we are get the signal. The DSC control unity have the signal. So the sensor, it's giving the signal to the DSC, it's telling us that it's everything working. But he simply don't recognize the signal difference while the car is driving to the front or to the rear. Okay? The signal is static. So we can see here that we connected to the rear left, okay, to test it. and you can see here that we have a difference. This is how the car recognizes when we are turning the wheel to the back or to the front, okay? And in the rear right, we don't have it. We just have the signal to the wheel, it stopped. It's not a short circuit, it's not a miss ground or a miss positive. The car is the sensor is working fine. The only thing is it's not recognized that the wheel is turning, okay? And this is why we don't get the fault. It's normal, and now I understand why this is why it's so important to connect the scope to try to understand how it works, the sensor, and why the car don't get the fault for the sensor. This is really important, okay? So here I show you how the car recognizes when the wheel is turning to the front, to the rear, or when it stopped, okay? I will get some reference waveforms to show you the difference between the front, rear, and stopped. Okay, I will advance a little bit more the video. And I think here we can clearly see that the red wave is when the car is stopped. Okay, the yellow wave is when the car is running reverse to the back, and the front wave, the green wave, it's when the car is turning to the front. Okay. If you pay attention and look closely, in all of the waves we have a spot when only one wave it's working. Okay, so if you see the red wave have this spot here. Okay, only when red wave it's working over there and here. The yellow wave have here one spot, and the green wave have here and here. So it's like this that the car recognizes the turning, the direction from the wheel, okay, if it's turning to the front or to the rear. After that, we took out the sensor, okay, we replace it with a new one, and you will see now the difference, okay, because we have the test after the replacement. We connect the scope again, we turn the wheel, and now we really have a difference in the signal, as you can see. So the car is recognizing that the wheel is spinning, and we have this problem solved. This is the final test when we try to accelerate the car, and everything was working fine. So I will show you. I have no sound the video, but you can see that the revs go above what went before, and the speed also goes, and we don't have a CC message. So this is one more diagnostic, and if you want to subscribe the channel to help me to create more content to you, I will be appreciated. And thank you guys, until the next one.